welcome one and all. And I'm very excited that our friend is here today. You know, we're on a roll having friends or on,
I can't believe.
I know. And this is Amanda. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Bestie.
Having me. Thank you so much.
And so Amanda's very important to me especially, but our story, there's ups, there's downs, there's ins, there's outs. But I think there's a through line of beautiful, like, what is that called? Maternal female love, that nurturing shit that women do, through it all, I think. And I was gonna ask immediately, because I'm sure you had a life before you met us, and I don't know anything about what that was. Where were y'all before y'all got to where we all met?
So memory is an issue for me because
Okay.
trauma brain.
Welcome.
Yeah. Hello. We've heard of her.
Have you heard? So what's interesting is how listening, like watching your episodes, especially the first couple, how that did help me recall my own story a little bit, because I'd forgotten that you all, like Ocean Shore, like the church existed before we even got there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And like there wasn't even the building. Like when we got there, we were just sort of, are we using names?
If you want.
I mean,
whatever's easier. Yeah.
But so he was, the young life guy, and we were just sort of guests. We were hanging at first because we lived in Aberdeen. That's where our second child was born. I mean,
whoa.
I don't know how far back you want to go.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Yeah. So our eldest was born in Kansas City, but we weren't there very long because once I finished nursing school, we moved to Arizona for a minute, planted a church, and that didn't last very long. There will begin to be a trend of certain pastors or leaders not apparently living up to somebody's standards, and so we made a lot of moves and a lot of changes, but but one of the through lines was always Young Life. He was super involved in Young Life before I met him, and my ex-husband. And so then when we finally made it back to the Grace Harbor area, Young Life was looking for a new area director. So at the time we just had our son, who was like a year old, little.
Wow.
Yeah, very little. And so we were in the Aberdeen Hoquiam area. He was doing Young Life stuff. I was doing stay-at-home mom stuff. And got pregnant when our son was 2. And it was about that time that, when did the very beautiful blonde couple who were volunteers, the blonde family, all the blondes, okay. They were like, hey, we don't want to do Young Life anymore in Ocean Shores. Will you come and do it? So I guess there hadn't really been a Young Life chapter in Ocean Shores. I don't really know.
Yeah. That seems right.
Yeah.
Okay. Or actually, Mary, I believe your father-in-law was like, let's bring it to Ocean Shores. So
little revolutionary.
So that's how we got introduced to Ocean Shores. And that community, that church community in particular, was full of people who wanted to volunteer and reach out to the young people, and
some good folks.
Good folks. So so then we were there when it was still meeting in the church, like they were putting buckets out on rainy days. And but it wasn't long that then they started doing the building campaign, and I mean, our primary experience,
Yeah. The big fans.
our experience with the Bestie sisters started
Yeah.
really in earnest once we were in the big building. And
Yeah.
that's so weird because I can't even place you guys in the church building. I didn't, you must
Yeah.
have been too young and you weren't in the youth group. Like you weren't old enough.
Right. I was definitely in middle school still, because I remember not being cool enough to be in like the edgy, like, give me the hardcore Bible.
Oh.
Like we were still like,
The hardcore.
softcore Jesus, you know?
Yeah. That makes
And I was
sense.
very jealous. I was like, okay. Veggie Tales, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that doesn't mean, just because I don't remember, again, that doesn't mean
Yeah.
there wasn't, there weren't experiences being had in that building, I'm sure. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that in general, I think like podcasts I've listened to and whatever, like the church planting thing, that's so weird. That's so wild. Like it's kind of, is it not kind of like the Silicon Valley of like, invest in a person who's promising something new or whatever, like that's weird. Like how long were y'all doing that and what was your deal with that?
First of all, that's a fantastic comparison. That's a fantastic metaphor. That's really, really good.
Thank you.
Good job. Let me write that down. Yeah, my memoirs. Well, I mean, that's why we moved to Portland. So
Yeah.
we're still doing it. The reason that when I met my ex-husband, your former youth pastor, I was in nursing school and was planning on being a missionary.
Hell yeah.
And he wasn't in nursing school, but that was his plan. Like our plan was to just get out there and join all the proselytizers. And so that didn't happen because I got pregnant right away. So the best thing is like domestic missionary, right? Just go plant a church because clearly there aren't enough of them and nobody's doing it.
People don't know where to go.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this about the Arizona experience. It was pretty icky. Like these people, like I feel like this actually was said, like the guy who was on board to lead music. I feel like I made some sort of comment about, well, we aren't like whoring ourselves for Jesus here. Like they were talking about having like a circus or something in the parking lot or like a big carnival to try to get everybody to come to. I'm like, well, we're not gonna like whore ourselves for Jesus. He's like, well, yeah, we kind of are. Like, oh, all right.
Whoa.
That's what we're doing. But like I said, that didn't last long. There was a parting of ways between the pastor and the associate pastor, and so we didn't really church plant. We just sort of entered a life as youth pastors, but that feeling like nobody's doing it right continued on throughout. Yeah. And so you see a little bit of that in the what was that called? The something tree. What was the service that he started on Saturday nights? It's not Broom Tree. Broom Tree? No.
That is.
Oh, whoa. Whoa.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of that same idea that or not that it's not just not being done right, but we're not reaching the people who really
not radical
need to be reached. Yeah. To be church for the unchurched or whatever.
Yeah.
And that same spirit, we're going to start entering some territory where it's not my story to tell, but there was that same spirit that continued on at the church, the same church, in such a way that, again, my ex-husband felt like wasn't the right way to do it. And so we then went to Mexico to be missionaries again. And that lasted so long until, same, whatever. Third verse, same as the first. But when we left Mexico, and there was also family stuff going on. So we also left Mexico to go back to Missouri to help my mom, who at the time was raising my sister's baby. And so we then ended up getting custody or taking on this third child. And at that time, then being asked to come back to Ocean Shores because there had been a church plant out of plants.
I didn't know you went back. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of, I think with the, I think the way it was sold to him, to my ex-husband, was that, well, you guys can still come back and be mediators between these two communities, because you were a part of, you weren't here or there, you were gone.
Ooh. That's a big that's a big
Tall
job.
order.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Just like we like him. So yeah. So then when we came, again, it was sort of the same idea. It's like, oh, well, we can help them do it the right way. And
Yeah.
so it always, I guess, a plant never felt like, even when we finally moved to Portland, to literally plant a church from nothing, to like move into a community and just meet some people and then start gathering with them weekly. And that probably the first time we did that was just however many 10 years ago when we moved here, where it's like, there is no, we were it. And a young person from that you guys know and love from a family that was part of the church did come with us, and to help to lead worship. Another person from the community also came, and we're still in relationship with that person. I'm doing this because he literally lives in the apartment across from me. But like the other younger person who came to lead worship, like, we just, as long as I was married, I felt like I was losing relationships. I mean, relationships were being challenged and people were being disappointed, or, and so that feels a little bit like I would have just spent the rest of my life going and planting a new church, or going and being a missionary somewhere else. And so, so I feel like I just recently got off that boat. I mean, just recently.
Yeah.
So, how long did we do that? Like forever. I feel like that's what we were doing forever.
Yeah.
Just gonna ramble and ramble and ramble.
No.
So sorry.
That's what it's for. No. Is the church in Portland still like a thing? Does it exist still?
The church that we started in? No. When I it was still meeting. It was still meeting, and there was a core group of us that were still meeting. But when I began my deconstruction, of course, Dennis, I have to say his name. Dennis felt very, unsupported. I mean, we just weren't, I just wasn't in it with him. And I was still there. In fact, there was a ladies' Bible study that I started that to this day is the only thing that actually still meets on a weekly basis, but we just get together and bitch and drink wine. Like, it's not, it's like, it's not, but I'm like, who's the church now, motherfucker?
I love that.
So no, it is not still a thing. He's still a Christian.
Yeah.
And still believes.
We've seen.
Have you?
I noticed.
I don't know. I hear. Yeah. And I don't mean to, like, I actually, he and I are able to, I have a respect for him again that I had lost, and can really appreciate. We were married for over over 20 years. I
Yeah.
mean, God, we grew up together, have amazing babies and all of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, some things are better from a distance. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true.
So just-
Well, so I was curious about that too. Like, what came first is like the relationship thing, but the deconstruction came first, and then I don't even know the marriage thing. We don't have to do that. But
Yeah.
so the deconstruction started first, just in the timeline of it all. And like, how did that happen? What happened?
yeah, what happened? God, that's an interesting question, because it's like I can go, well, I really started deconstructing way back here. And then I can also say, well, we really started separating way back here. So
Yeah.
Right.
I am someone who always struggled with just flat out faith, just belief. I really believe in and appreciate science and like evidence and stuff. And so that was difficult for me always, especially because I studied sciences as a young, or I was pre-med and then nursing. And so,
Yeah.
But I also came from, so the church, I think as a whole, Big C Church, is really good at having an answer for any and every question. And
Yeah.
ultimately, like the one Hail Mary, that they always give if they don't have the right answer is that, well, God's ways are bigger than our way. How can we expect to understand?
It's
Yeah.
not
Y'all
for
are
us
too
to
dumb.
understand.
Yeah.
You're not God. Thank God you're not God. And I also, because of my experiences as a child, and because of the stuff that I'd been through, it was so easy to just go, well, I'm just broken. Like
Yeah.
Of course I struggle with trust or belief or faith or any of these things. Of course I don't, whatever. There's always an answer. And so I always had questions. I doubled down, like as a parent, I would just pray every night, God, you've got to make yourself real to these kids. You make everything I'm saying true. And almost as if I could see it actually lived out in them, then I would, okay, all right, this is good. This is
And you
true.
could be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the similar, since Dennis and I only knew each other for like basically a weekend before we got engaged. And so got married. Like I met him in January, and then was like on my way to India for 2 months in like that same June. And so he proposed before I left. And when I got back in September, we got married.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then we got pregnant.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, immediately. So,
Of course. Yeah.
and so we had issues from day one that we did not ever face and walk through. Prayed about it, and fought, for a long time. We'd have fights, but then it just got to where it was like, why are we even fighting about this? Like, we're not going to do anything about it. That was another good reason to like move or have an issue with somebody else, because I'd be on team against this person,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
problem.
Interesting.
And so I would say, well, so what happened in my deconstruction is, and the thing that brought everything to a head was, it was our son's senior year in high school. And so I was anticipating a year of lasts and a year of loss. And it surprised me that I was so impacted by that. It felt like such a loss. Like I remember starting the school year with him, and it was going to be Halloween, and I'm like, is this going to be like our last Halloween? Like it's and like our last Thanksgiving. And it's, of course it's not, but in my brain, everything's going to be different from here on out. That same fall, and if I am about to share two much bigger losses that I don't want to be like triggering, or I don't want to be insensitive about, but that same fall of one of my very, very best friends in Ocean Shores, and a friend of the church, died of alcohol. I mean, she drank, died of alcohol poisoning or whatever. And then I got the news that my aunt and uncle in Idaho I have a cousin who's schizophrenic, and he had also caused their deaths in a very, very violent way. And so this all happened within a matter of months. And that was when I was just done. It was like everything I had ever excused away or tried to pray away or was waiting on Jesus to fix, I was just done. I was done. And within that same, because Aaron was getting ready to go away, we were going through boxes and stuff, and we were cleaning up, making space and all this stuff. And I'd come across this journal from like 16 years ago where I was writing the same shit, praying the same prayers about my marriage, about my own struggles. And I'm like, if I have to, I don't care. Whatever I'm waiting on to happen, I'm done. I'm done. It's not good enough. I will have whatever I can have now. I am not waiting until I'm 80 years old to finally, enjoy the fruits of my long suffering or my
struggle.
So to say what happened, I don't know, but I was listening to this podcast called The Airing of Grief, which is Derek Webb. Derek Webb was one of the producers of. Jamie Lee Finch, who, if you do not know who that is,
shout her out. Put a picture of her.
Put a picture.
Please. Have you read her book, You Are Your Own? Okay. Like that whole podcast, it was like, oh my God, I'm not the only sincere and earnest believer who is like going, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is going on? Who's the president? Like, what's happening right now? And that was the beginning of just, I mean, once one pillar fell, they were just all coming down. So
I mean, that journal thing, I mean, like, this is what I've always felt like a kinship with you, Amanda, about like just the journaling, the very sincere, pouring my heart out, wringing myself out, trying to like, I had all the devotion, I fucking knew that book, and to go through like old journals, like fucking heartbreaking, putting myself through so much, it was so much work. Like, that's the thing with deconstruction. It's like, it's not the casual people falling out.
No.
It's the real deal shit. We were like all the way. And it's not, we're the ones leaving,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was thinking today about like being so young and going to church at night, and just like crying so much because it was always like I looked forward to like just beating the shit out of myself, just like I'm horrible, I'm terrible, I'm unworthy, like that was just what we were, especially like later on, but like that's what we repeated to ourselves like all the time. And that's crazy to me that I was so young, and that was just like my headspace 24/7 is crazy.
You got to get your weekly dose of that. And like the things that are like earnest prayer in Christianity of like, I'm so broken, like you said, I am dirt, I'm dust, like I'm impure, like fix me. Like if I heard my kids saying that, like 5150, you know what I mean? Like, that's not healthy. That's not good. If God wants it like that, like I can't anymore,
Right.
Yeah. Nope, it is absolutely, it's spiritual abuse. In fact, and and it's so clear to me now. Like I can see, I still have some Christian friends in my circle, and I had one post this picture of her son who is maybe in middle school, but he's like he's got tears running down his face, and
Yeah.
he's in worship, and she of course thinks it's the most beautiful thing, and I get it, I understand.
Yeah,
Like
we were there.
but my perspective now is so clear. It's so clear that it's trauma. That was my, I mean, I guess technically my first codependent relationship was with my mother, but my relationship with Jesus fucking Christ was so toxic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So toxic. And that, I mean, and I am devastated that I'm trying to appropriately recognize the part I obviously played, not in my own children's lives, but the lives of so many young people. Again, in a really sincere and from a sincere and heartfelt place, but participating in that, like encouraging that, praising that, applauding that, growing that, teaching you how to be that way, what to say, how to, I just, and how can that be so clear now? Like I just,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
And you and I have talked, I mean, privately, and I want you to say it because I think you want to say it, but after today, I don't want you to feel
Yes.
bad, I see and I hear all this guilt, but it was done to you, and the loving thing to do is pass it down, and it doesn't matter because we're out,
Yeah.
we're okay, and we're better for it. And, I don't know. I don't like that you're beating yourself up, because especially like as a woman, as a wife, as a, that's your job, right? I mean,
Right.
that's the woman's job, is to like, this man knows what's up,
Right.
Yeah. And it like, that's your profession. Like, what other metric do you have except for like attendance and your discipleship of your young lasses and lads, like, I mean, it was like a good number, we were good notches in the belt,
And then we were recruiting like crazy. So well done.
Yeah.
God.
Like a pyramid scheme.
I was gonna say, talk about MLM.
That's true.
But like I think about how, yes, that's true. And at the same time, and I appreciate that. And everybody, I mean, really everybody has been, you don't want people just to go, that's all right.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
like
No big deal.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everyone, all of the people who I've reached out to. Everyone's been super gracious, and thank yourselves that you and the universe that there was a bigger story, and that other things have happened. And thankfully my children are not in that same place, not in that place at all.
Your kids are so cool.
I have pretty cool kids. Yeah.
Did they go before you, or like did you deconstruct first and here they come, or they were never bought in? Like what's up with the kids?
That's a good question. I don't think they ever really bought in, not the way, not so they certainly weren't raised the way that I was raised, or the way that my ex-husband was raised. In fact, I don't know if you've heard this, one of my favorite stories to tell. I mean, even back in the day, was we were driving home from some youth event, and Aaron was in the back seat, and as a little guy. And I mean, but he was like, Dad, have you ever thought about, or it's like, if you really want to change the world, have you ever thought about starting with your own children? Like this little kid.
Slam.
Deceased.
Yeah. And so while I think he didn't like have, I mean, he also has a good relationship with his dad, but
Yeah.
We didn't do a great job of making that life seem all that attractive to our kids. I think while we were sincere and completely earnest and devoted in every way and wanting to evangelize other people to be that way, my kids were seeing what was really going on at home. Number one, we're constantly being told that we don't matter.
Yeah.
Our happiness doesn't matter. Everybody else's does.
Yeah. The greater good.
Yeah. And weren't being, we weren't evangelizing our children. We just weren't at home. Like even when I was begging to have a husband who would do family devotions or pray with the kids with me, or do those kinds of things, when I thought that's what I needed to have, we just weren't that family. We didn't have that. But so all they got was like the shitty end of it. They were like, we have to go to all of these things. We have to be the lame kids who've never seen Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Ever went trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
And our parents are telling us that we are worthless and that we're supposed to go be a blessing to,
Yeah.
So they never really had, I don't think, a real personal, like, what is it, the
personal relationship with Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I think they may have said a prayer and they'd been baptized and everything.
Of course. Who among us?
I think they enjoyed, especially my second born, my middle child, she enjoyed, getting a lot of praise and kudos for being this
amazing. Yeah.
Little mini version of her dad who was just making friends left and right and telling people about Jesus. But
yeah,
it was actually her story. Living in Portland will change you. So Portland, I'm assuming Portland, Maine would also have some sort of an effect, but different than that one here. You meet people who have experiences and are living lives, and they're in your face and they're in your neighborhood, and you can't just go, that's not true. It didn't happen to you. Like, right, that's not real. You didn't. And our kids obviously were becoming their own people. And one of our children came to us one night, and it probably was the scariest thing they had ever done. But had something to tell us about themselves that they knew was going to go against everything that we'd ever been for, or was for everything we'd ever been against, I guess is probably the better way to say that. And it was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was so grateful that if that was going to happen, it happened at a place and at a time where I was certainly fine and prepared for it. And even my ex-husband, who was my husband at the time, had begun to really expand and grow and all of that. So, but again, I just don't think we did a good job of ever selling the whole Christian thing for our kids, no matter what. So
yeah,
what a blessing.
I know.
Good job.
Crazy.
I was gonna say, like, there's parallels, I think, with my husband, that when you see how the sausage gets made, it's like, why this? Like, it's boring. It takes your whole family over. Like, I don't see. We've had discussions, but I don't think he was ever very bought in either. Very aware of the mechanics of it all. And so. Just nothing bothers this guy, and so when I'm like, no, you don't understand, I hurt Jesus's feelings, and he's like, okay.
I know, it's amazing.
Bless him.
I think there are probably, I'm not really there with the live and let live and to each their own. Like, I am actively a Christian, and so
interesting.
I have to I think it's really problematic and has caused a lot of problems throughout history.
Yeah.
But then I forget that there are probably. Oh, Justin. Justin. I don't know.
I imagine
I think there are.
there are
Okay, good.
guys, but
Not in my house, but
yeah. Not over
There
here.
Okay.
My kids are really rock and roll about it, and like I don't know if I've been just talking too out loud about it, but I'm like, you guys, we just moved to Utah, okay? So y'all can't be like making fun of Jesus.
Yeah.
Not cool.
yeah.
That's Utah, boy.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm really disappointed in your reaction to everything everywhere all at once. You need to go back and give it another go.
You think maybe we'll watch it together because I've never
No.
seen it. Maybe we'll live react, you and me. You know,
Like, what am I supposed to feel? Or is it just, it's absurd and just take it in?
Well, I think here's the thing. One of the things that I love about it is that it's like nothing I'd ever seen before. And that's hard to accomplish
Yeah.
true. That's fair.
in cinema. I felt that way about Mother. Did you guys see Mother?
No, I'm scared.
Fearful,
I'm
first
scared.
of all.
Yeah.
Fearful. But and it's fine up until the very end, and it's just. But that movie, I watched that. I love master dates, and I love to go to movies by myself. And I went and saw Mother alone, and it was right. I was still married. I think I just sort of started deconstructing. I stood up and clapped at the end of that movie. I was like, that was my story. That is my story.
Oh my God.
I
You have
gotta
to watch
do
it.
I have to.
And everybody
report
else
back
in the
next week.
theater was like, what did I just watch?
Yeah, everyone hated it.
People either
Whoa.
hate it or they love it. And there's
Yeah.
very few of us that are in that latter camp that love it. I loved it. It's very symbolic
Wow.
of my whole. I mean, I know that it's supposed to be about the environment, but I was like, no, this is about what it means to be a wife in a very conservative Christian family. But anyway.
Wow.
Anyway, it was like it's totally like everything everywhere all at once. Movie you've never seen before, things you've never seen before, right? You've never,
Right.
and that's amazing to me.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing that I love about it is the message. Like, I really love the message that I love the message. I love what the mother, our main character, is able, the awareness that she's able to come to, and just the gratitude for her life, and the recognition that things could have gone a myriad of different ways, but ultimately, like, what matters, what's important. And I don't know, I just that's not an untold story or a message we never man, was it told in a way that I'd never ever seen before. So huge fan of The Last of Us.
Oh my God.
Pedro Pascal.
My
Oh
God.
my God, what a treasure. Did you see him?
Find out that he was a Christian, I might reconsider my
Yeah, we can't do that again.
You gotta go get him. Go get him.
It's so good.
Great.
He is a gift to us all.
Yes.
Yes.
Bless him.
Yeah, so good. Okay, that's all I have. At some point, one of you must have talked about Yellowstone or Succession.
I surely did. I was peer pressured into watching it.
Okay.
Listen, it's not terrible. Okay. I just can't continue this way. We'll keep murdering people for no reason. You could just walk away. That's how I feel.
I actually don't watch Yellowstone. I didn't. But I heard the joke on Saturday Night Live about how it's just it's Succession outdoors. I love Succession so much.
That's true. All the
so I thought, well, I like Succession and I like the outdoors, so maybe I can get on this
horses
bandwagon, because everybody apparently loves the show. So I watched the first episode and I'm like, you're damn right, this is just Succession outdoors and it's not as good, and I'm not gonna watch it. And so but I love Succession. I hate that I love Succession because they are despicable people.
Yes.
And yet it's like, I can't not watch.
Right.
it's just fantastically well done. I have a feeling those people actually exist. I mean, I think
Oh,
I think it's a documentary.
I agree. My friend Mr. Medium told me to watch Yellowstone, and he said everyone on there is terrible, and that's why you'll like it. And that's how I felt about Mad Men.
Ooh,
The first time I watched it, I was like, I can't watch it because nobody's likable. Then the second go, I was like, oh, that's the point. Nobody's likable. So
yeah.
it was all right. I don't know.
Isn't it funny too, now that we know more about John Hamm, he's the most likable person in the world. And he played such an asshole so well. Anyway, so Dennis was the seafood Cynthia, but I was the spicy. I was the not Mumbai, that's Bombay.
Oh,
The,
something like that.
something like that, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Oh my gosh. You were talking about that, and I just was like, I will never have that again. And
None of us will. They moved.
Yeah,
Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. And my favorite childhood movie was Never Ending Story. Which if you have not introduced your children to,
I haven't seen
I
it
am so
either.
much older. Have you not seen it?
I watched it in Alaska, I think, and I was like, why have I not watched this as a child?
Yeah.
It's like that's the one that's like Sword in the Stone, but weirder, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's live action, and it's
Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
it's
I'll
like
have to watch it.
yeah, it's so very, 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 very good. It's so good. It's so good. And I'm really bad about saying things like that, and then it's impossible for it to be good enough.
Not true. I feel you introduced us to Mary Poppins.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's good. That's
That
good.
that lived up.
That's
Yeah.
good. Well, we have a second run like movie theater in our neighborhood that every summer they play all the different things. They do like a scary movie one during Halloween, and they always have Never Ending Story during the summer, and Millie always wants to walk up and see it, and my kids loved it. It's so good. It's good.
Cute. Good.
So I don't know. We could talk about mushrooms. We could talk about
Well, I was recommended mushrooms for migraine, so it's just a matter of time. Joe says be careful because it unlocks a part of your brain that you can't relock.
What does
But-
that mean?
I don't know. He's like, you just see people differently forever.
Like in a good way or in a bad way?
He's like, his discernment is a lot better. Like he can see when people.
Why wouldn't you want that?
That's what I said. I don't know.
Why be careful?
I don't know. He doesn't want me to have superpowers, whatever.
Rude.
And I'm telling you.
I would agree that I am a different person and always will be since the first time I did mushrooms. And it was everything everybody told me it would be. Like I had a lot of people say, well, this will happen, and do like everything, every way everybody coached me panned out.
Yeah.
I think I read this book, Waking Up, and I also do the Waking Up app for meditation. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but
Recommend it. Put a
Yeah.
picture of it. It's good.
It's something also life-changing. But in his book, he talked a little bit. He said, be careful with this kind of stuff. And he believes that meditation, if we learn how to do it, can get us to that same place. And I'm sure that I believe that that's probably true. I feel like I can access what I need to access when I'm meditating now more easily because I've done.
Ooh.
So, but the first time I did it, I also am, I was raised to be terrified of
Yes.
drugs, and especially anything where I could have a bad trip and like jump out of a window or something.
Yes.
Right.
And so I had a friend who gifted me this jar of mushrooms, of psilocybin mushrooms, and I literally meditated with them in front of me for a good month or longer, just to like, we're gonna get to know each other, share energy, like we're gonna set all these positive intentions together, like we're gonna.
Oh my God.
So I was because I'm a fucking control freak. I'm like,
Yeah.
I will be the master of my own experience, even on mushrooms. Like I will. But,
I prepare. Yeah.
I've done everything. But I wasn't alone. I was with my good friend, who was actually part of our church at one point. Anyway, she gave me my mushrooms. And I ended up taking, she was like, be careful, start out with a little bit. And as soon as I started seeing some of the visual things, I was like, no, I'm just going to go ahead and eat them all.
Oh my God.
So I definitely took, I mean, I don't even know, like a hero's dose, more than I should have. I mean, but I had a very good experience. Like I had some weird experiences. Like, everyone told me, if you get to a place where you're having a bad time or you don't like what's happening, remind yourself that this won't last forever. You will be okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And so there was a couple of moments like that where one time I was so cold and I was certain that I had wet myself, but I didn't. But I was so cold, but just being able to recall that advice, I was able to say, you will be warm again. This is going to pass. You won't, you won't be here forever.
Wow.
And I had an experience of convergence, is that what they call it, or whatever, where so like I said, everybody told me if you get to a place and it's not good, right, it'll remind yourself this will end, it's not going to last forever. So there was this other point later where I did have to pee, and we were outdoors or in this park, and don't go where there's a bunch of kids around, because I was like, oh, don't let the kids see me. Like,
yeah.
But I turned into a monster. But I had to use the restroom, and so I'm walking toward the public restroom, and there's an older woman who's walking away from the restroom, and she stops me. She's like, oh, I want to tell you something. And I was like, I'm ready to receive. Like, what do you want to tell me? And she said, when you flush the toilet, it's going to seem like it will never stop flushing.
Oh my God.
It will eventually stop flushing. Now, I had a witness to that conversation. That actually happened. She literally said that to me. And
oh my God.
It was a very long flush, and I thought, do I need to jiggle the handle or whatever? But no, I didn't. I was like, that is the universe. Like that.
Amazing.
I love that.
But just seeing things and having an awareness of connection, and also like eternity is the wrong word. It's just, I don't know. It's the thing I'm always trying to remind myself of, and the thing I'm always trying to get back to, because I spend so much time in my own fucking head.
Mm-hmm.
But just that I'm held, and I'm also like, there's not really a boundary, there's not a barrier. Like, it's, I just am, I am part of all of this, and whatever's going on right now is just a sort of the way everything is coming together. And I don't know.
Wow.
Let's do it right now.
But you felt that, like what Sam said, of like love and like warm fuzzies and stuff, and the like, yeah.
Well, like literal warmth. So part of the experience for me too is because it comes in waves. The physical experience. Now, I also will microdose a lot, and I don't feel anything. Like that's sort of the point. But like, there's a literal warmth that starts. I mean, I call it the Kundalini, because it's because they're of, like my yoga practice or whatever. But and the other reason I call it that is because every tree I saw or pole I saw did literally look like a snake. And what's so interesting is that if someone had told me that you're going to see snakes, I would have been like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But it was not alarming. It was lovely. It was lovely. Anyway,
Whoa.
so I literally feel a warmth and I get a little nauseated. If you have cacao, like drink some hot chocolate, hot cacao, that helps with the tummy stuff. But gets a little bit nauseating, and then there's this warmth. But I know that just means I am about to either see something beautiful and inspiring, or I'm about to feel like just the muscle relaxation that happens. It's like a full body, like it feels like a heaviness, but it's just because it's like everything is just sort of giving up. Like, and then that connection with other people. Like, there is nothing I've ever done that makes me feel the love that I already have. It's not that I don't just start feeling lovey. I am so aware of the love and the enjoyment of the person that I'm with, and the full on laughter. Like your face kind of always wants to be either laughing or yawning, and
Wow.
it. And I think there is cause for being considerate, intentional, careful, all those things. But I also think everybody should be on mushrooms. So.
I love it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But you had people with you. That's my concern. I don't like anytime I've gotten high on any, because I'm a grandma and I'm in the South, we can't play like that. Anytime I've had a THC or a Delta, whoever, I don't like that. I get mad if I'm not in control. I think everyone's going to laugh at me. I'm like, this is taking too long. I don't like this feeling,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think I'd have to have my conditions all right, be in isolation or with one person.
Yeah,
another going to be high. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, because I'm scared to be like drunk in public. You know what I mean? I'm scared of everything.
No, I agree. I don't do recreational mushrooms. Like I don't. Well, I'll microdose, but like anytime I've ever done it, it's been because that's what I'm going to do, and I am with this person.
Yeah.
Or these people. We have decided to go to this place and be here for this much time. You do have to set aside about 5 to 7 hours to like,
Yeah.
And being outside is a big deal. Most people would, I think, agree that, being out in nature.
My God, come to my desert.
Yeah, for sure. For real. That it would be so awesome. It would be so awesome. I would.
Whoa.
Yeah. But I feel the same way. Like I don't like being high. I'll smoke, but it's not my thing. Like first of all, am so paranoid about how I sound, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Are my words coming out at the right speed? That's always for me. I'm like, how slow am I talking
right?
And do the words I'm saying fit together to make a sentence? Like, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Mommy bestie.
Yeah. I know. All of my best friends are like, that's what they're all about. And I'm just like, I mean, I'll go to sleep, sure.
True. I do before bed. And like, what's Joe gonna care?
I do appreciate that for that reason.
I wanted to talk about my senior trip. Do you remember my senior trip?
Your senior trip?
You and me?
Yes.
I didn't know about this. I feel like I didn't remember this until like, recently.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. If I have anything to apologize for, it's that lame ass trip to that monastery. Oh my God. Come to Portland and we will redo your senior trip. We'll redo your senior trip and we'll do it right.
Yeah. Proper trip.
Proper trip. Oh my God.
But I will say for the pod, I feel Amanda and I have always had a spiritual connection. We've always been about it, you know, and I kind of feel like Dennis and Katie, that was her mentor, and that you were my mentor, and we just split down the middle, you know.
Yeah.
And so for my senior quest, my big day out, you know, we went to Catholic church ? And we were going to do the Stations of the Cross ?
Yeah.
And then we just had some silent prayer.
Well, so it was a monastery
Okay.
in
Come on.
Olympia, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so this first of all, it's very unlike me to not have like over planned, like have been overly, I don't know, planned.
Contingencies. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got there and it was like some, not the Stations of the Cross. We were able to do that, but it was cold and rainy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just was not as I had envisioned it being for you. And also because we were women, we couldn't stay. Like we couldn't stay. Like I thought we were going to be able to come be guests.
Yeah.
And treated like Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you saying you were like, we're going to have bland beans for dinner. It's going to be awesome. You know?
Yes.
They wouldn't even
As
see that.
stark as we can make it. We're going to be so bleak and stark and like we're
Yeah.
gonna be flagellating. Or,
That was my shit.
That would have been a dream for you, actually.
I know.
Like, we're
I
laughing,
know.
but you would have been so hyped.
I know.
oh my God, we both would have felt like we,
Yeah. Finally.
Yeah.
but I think the best thing we got was that we got to be present for one of their services. And then we just spent the day in silent prayer and meditation
Yes.
by ourselves, like apart from each other. And I'm like, how long can I do that? I should have just taken you to the bar. I don't know. Like, I should have just.
But I just thought that was so very us.
Yeah.
We were just sitting in a church crying together, you know.
But not together.
But not, yeah.
But I think then we had an IHOP and we had a pancake and we went to the movies. So
What
we were
did we-
wild.
What did we see?
The Holiday with Cameron Diaz and
You're the first
What?
person I saw the holiday with.
Oh,
yeah, of course, on my senior trip.
Oh my God.
what a blessing.
I love that. I love that for me.
I know.
That blows my mind. That blows my mind. I love that.
Precious.
You're right though. If that had turned out to be what I thought it was going to be, that would have been its own story. I'm sure. We would have seen visions because we'd been fasting. On a rock, on a stone.
Yes, put me in a cave.
We love to fast. Before Mexico, we fasted.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
At least one time.
I've never known myself to fast. Really.
Yeah. The only time. Only for the Lord and only once.
I do remember on one of those trips, right before one of those, like literally the night before one of those trips to Mexico, trying to teach you all how to use a tampon.
Yes. Yes.
Remember.
Because I wasn't prepared because I thought my period would come, but I prayed a lot. And I was like, I'm not going to pack because I'm going to pray and put my faith, you know?
I
don't have a tampon.
I feel we tried to get on birth control to avoid periods, but maybe we were.
I don't think I did.
I don't know.
Yeah, probably we were offered and we were like, no. I don't want to be
I feel like maybe our weird religious doctor was like, no.
because when I did get my birth control, I was like, I'm open for business.
I remember that.
So that wouldn't have been my Christian times,
It's true. Maybe just I got birth control. Maybe. I didn't.
That's funny. I just did my own I'm open for business post on social media.
Yes. That's what I wanted to say too, is that you're so brave and like, do you
Yes.
have tips and tricks for people trying to be out here being brave and healing and getting it?
I appreciate that. I'm not though. Like I still am not completely out with lots of my family members and have to pretend to be a different kind of believer than I am. My therapist, I was telling her, was like, well, my mom is getting ready to come for, you know, my youngest graduation, and I'm gonna have to pretend to be a Christian again. And she's like, what does your sponsor have to say about that? Like, well, we have not talked about that. I don't think we will.
For later.
But the thing is that, and this comes back to one of the things on my notes that, you know, one of the things you guys talked about in one of your first couple episodes was, and I understand too the question, because like I said, like the perspective that I have now is so clear that I understand wondering what the fuck was wrong with all these adults who were doing these things to us. But I know that if I were to tell, I just know that belief is so, well, again, it's just sincere and so owned that if I were to tell my certain family members that I did not believe in Jesus, that I was not a Christian, they would not ever leave their knees. Like they would be so devastated for the eternal, for my souls, each, you know, like that I would burn in a literal hell for all of eternity. And again, like I joke, my sponsor and I have actually talked about this. I mean, I know that's not my problem. I know.
Yeah.
But why would I do that to somebody? Like, why? And I know what it is to have that actual belief that if this person doesn't believe the right things, they will suffer eternally. Like, and the fact that we teach our children this obviously is just another form of abuse. But I don't know how. I'm not that brave yet. I have my very, very blonde good friend is always telling me, you need to be writing more. You know, people, this is hitting a nerve and you need to write. I can to a certain degree, but at some point I'm going to have to like come up with a pseudonym and, you know, like there are things I won't say until certain people are dead. Like I just, not because I'm ashamed or because I don't think it's right. I just don't want them to worry.
For their sake.
And there's just no way to convince them. I can't explain it. I can't tell them why.
Yeah, like I'm damned, but it's chill.
You
know,
I like it.
No, I have taken the mushrooms. I've seen heaven. It's okay. I've seen the snake. He's friendly.
Yeah,
he's on our side.
Twist. He's the good guy.
Let him in. Let the snake in.
I feel like, right, feminism in Christianity, I feel like that's kind of where a lot of, I think the threesies of us kind of tripped a few times. And like, how much bullshit is the Adam and Eve, you know, and how much bullshit is, what are some of the other ones? They're all bad when we're involved.
I was the worst. I was not a feminist. When you guys knew me, both my ex-husband and your father-in-law would be like, you can lead a co-ed Bible study. And I'd be like, nope, I can't. I cannot be in a teaching position over a man. Like, I will not, you know.
Yeah.
I was the one who was was the worst. I was the worst. Talk about complementarianism. Like I was the one who was like, no, you are the head of the home. And, now I recognize now that was manipulative. Like that's so easy to say, okay, all of this falls on your shoulders.
Yeah.
If you mess
Yeah.
up, it's your fault. And
Yeah.
I'm just saved by my blood. I don't know. It's hard for me to even think of myself as that I don't feel like that same person. Sometimes I just think we are really living in a different universe, and I just woke up one day in a different simulation.
Yeah.
Or something like
Truly.
so different. Like it's so different to just.
Y'all, I'm wearing crop tops these days. I'm like, I got cleavage out here. Like
Stumbling block. You're a total stumbling block.
like bounce your eyes, besties. Bounce your thoughts.
Bounce your thoughts. That's right. And this is why I think Christianity is so problematic. We are teaching boys, but young people, that they don't have any self-control. They can't expect themselves to have any self-control. When I finally got a job 5 years ago, and I met people who work, like touch people's bodies for a living, and don't get an erection.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Maybe there is no God. Like I was like, these people seem to be able to manage their vessel fine. Like,
oh my God. That's so
or
funny.
hey, let's not bounce our eyes. Let's fucking watch some porn, and you don't then have to go have an affair. Like you
Truly.
does not mean that you are cheating on your partner.
Right.
Because you see a naked body and enjoy a naked body. I don't know.
And like the urgency with which we're marrying people off, in the church, like,
Yeah.
I'm real lucky because this guy that I got, like, we started deconstructing at the same time, which is like crazy lucky. But
This guy that you got right now?
this guy that I got,
I didn't know that.
yeah, like we started asking each other like very nervously questions at the same time, like, what if I like thought this crazy thought about God being kind of terrible.
I didn't know Joe was on a walk with
the Lord.
You didn't know he was constructed.
I didn't
See,
know
we were going to Bible study at that church. I'm very lucky, but we did get married very quickly because we had a baby. We were going to this church, and like people were like, you gotta just like take care of that, okay? This is not great. Doesn't look great. So like I didn't even get to wear a pretty dress. Like I could have, probably, but I was like, okay, for the Lord, can't be out here with this baby.
Yeah.
I think that's I love that you guys were able to do that. To see that, I'm assuming that leading up to that, you'd had other hard conversations.
Yeah.
Other things. So you'd
I'm
learned,
like premarital sex and
I mean, leading up to the deconstructing the conversations like that. Like that's the thing. Like I tell that there are relationships where people, like have hard conversations and talk about their concerns and their, whatever.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very lucky, and I was so scared because we were truly like I worked at the seafood shack, and we would like go to Bible studies there, and then we would go to Bible studies at houses, and I was still like singing on the worship team or whatever, and then I was like, this just is not, like, I'm having big question marks about like the propaganda of it all. Like we're having a baby, and then we're going to teach the baby like all these stories, these very scary stories of like sacrificing your child on an altar for God, and like, I don't know, like just thinking about how quick God is to anger and to like flooding his children out. And, you know,
Yeah.
and Joe's like, what happens if our children are queer, you know? And it's just, we started like really digging in deep on the kids stuff and just stopped going. And that helped us to get distance, understand, yikes, 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 you know, like all the things. But lucky.
No, that's not. I mean, you had done the hard work to be able to get to that place and
Yeah.
have those conversations. That's good. That's amazing. I'll say this to the credit of my ex-husband. He knew I was listening to this podcast and had all these questions, and he came home with Rachel Held Evans' Searching for Sunday. You guys know that book at all? And I think he genuinely thought that I could get to the place where he was, you know, where there was no, like, he could, I don't know, maybe it's just about compartmentalizing things, or I don't really know. It's just hard for me not to see, like you said, the propaganda implies that there's a plan, right? That there's this,
Yeah.
there was an original mastermind and the thing, as women, like, not only as women, but women are, you know, we are one of the types of people who have been controlled and harmed by the hand of the church forever. And I don't know, maybe he would say that when I'm talking about the universe and he's talking about Jesus, it's the same thing, but I just have a hard time.
Yeah. And I think it's hard for people who like are more feeling driven and like emotional, you know, because for me, for a long time, I was like, okay, but like I remember crying on top of a landfill in Mexico and that feeling I had, you know, and that felt very real. And
Yeah, for sure.
and then when you leave, you very suddenly and abruptly lose your community and your people who made you feel warm and fuzzy and like built you up and said, yes, you're doing exactly what you were born to do, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to like cold turkey leave all of those feelings.
Yeah, for sure.
And feel like it's the right course, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
It's hard to find people who are on that same path because you do want to be a little quiet about it at first.
Right. Yeah. No, nothing does third place like the church does. I mean, there is no other place where people get together and are being vulnerable in one way or another, you know, and have a shared goal and are probably talking about their problems, even if they're not being 100% honest. They're still talking about problems and asking for support. And there's just nothing, like, as far as community, there's nothing that does community like, you know, like the church. And then there is that, like you said, that social emotional aspect of corporate worship where there is literally a chemical, like there is a thing taking place. And, you know, that just, to get that at least once a week, if not more frequently, like there is no other drug like that, man. Like there just isn't. I mean, I think people have those experiences, but I don't know that they're having them regularly with the same people for their entire life, you know, like just, I think that our church experience was very different here because it was very small. Music was still an aspect, but we weren't having those times, you know, like we'd had in the past. And so that was already something that I'd kind of given up. And I even for a long time, like I had this playlist I have hundreds of playlists, Spotify playlists, and one of them is I call Even Still, and it's the worship songs, and it has since, I mean, I keep kind of knocking away at it, but it's like even still there are some that I can get me to that place of, and then to remember having that shared experience with dozens or hundreds of other people. Yeah. That's powerful. And I don't know what I have in my life that is, that's the thing. This is where I feel like my codependency, I I feel like I can have that in relationships with people, certainly in a romantic interest.
Yeah.
Make I can search to have not the same experience, but the same feelings from either praising and worshiping somebody or receiving that praise and worship from somebody. And also the relationship of, because part of that was that I was asking to have that relationship with this God who hated me so much that he had to murder his only son to even be able to stand to look at me, right?
Yeah.
So I have a tendency to seek out unavailable people, for unavailable one way or another, um, in order to have that, I don't know, that, ugh, just that awful toxic cycle of, you are unavailable. I'm going to make you, I'm going to be this thing. I'm going to be perfect for you. And you're going to make yourself more available for me. And you do for a little while. And then, like just awful, awful cycle. But that's kind of the closest thing that I've had to church since leaving the church. And when I started recognizing that's what I was experiencing, and it wasn't the fullness of life that I have in a simple conversation with someone that, I trust and love, or even my experience on mushrooms, or even my experience in meditation, or God, even like orgasming, like that, those are real fillings.
Yeah.
That is the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Just a toxic cycle.
Yeah. That's so true. And like, I still have no idea how to self-care, like people are like, take it easy, like do something good for yourself. And like, I don't know, I can't journal now like I used to, of course, back in my day. Can't do it now. I'm sure I could if I like took a week off of work and like, didn't have any commitments, but I don't know. I don't know how to relax ever, wonder why, but
Weird.
I can't relate. I don't know.
that's so interesting. I've never thought about that. Like,
You don't say. I think too, in my own experience, our culture, although it's certainly not a Christian culture, anytime I've ever been outside of the church, my Christian whatever values and my need to produce has always been appreciated and taken advantage of. And so
yes.
I don't know how to, if I ever, like, my big journey in life, will be to eventually truly believe that, or even just understand how just because I'm here and alive, am somehow worthwhile. And
Yes.
right. Like, that does not compute. That doesn't check out. I mean, why? Why is that true? But I can anticipate every need, that you're going to have before you have it. I can produce my ass off. Like, I can make sure that need to feel and to be productive and to be recognized as being productive.
Pats on the head.
Yeah.
That was the best I ever wanted to feel, needed to feel, thought I could ever feel. And then when I took steps away from making choices that were pleasing to other people, I can remember the first time I was in my apartment and I had spent the evening, worked all day, spent the evening unpacking, and I was sitting in the bathtub and I probably had a glass of wine. And I just remember feeling happiness. And I was like, oh my God, I think this is happy. Like, I feel so happy. And it wasn't even so happy. It was just that I recognized it. Like it was this contentment. I was happy.
Wow.
And everything I had done, I had been being productive for sure. I had been working hard. I had produced, but it was doing all the things for me, to put my home together, to make my own damn money, to like all of everything I had done that day was for me.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning, I think, of my recognizing that self-care means that what I'm doing for myself.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I have to not do for a whole day. That shit is never gonna make me feel good. But
Wild.
do you ever wonder, like, are we the way that we are because like I mean, how much is nature, how much is nurture? Like, would we have been so much better, more well adjusted had all these other things not happened to us? Or was this just what we were gonna be no matter what? Like
I don't know. Plus, I mean, trauma of other things. Something was gonna get me, you know?
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, that's just it. Like, life is hard, man. It's
Yeah.
hard one way or the other. I don't know.
But like, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not mad at it. It's
Yeah.
okay.
My kids could use a little more trauma, honestly. Like they're a little squishy.
No, I am so excited for the future. Like the kids are all right, man. Like
Yeah.
I mean, what they can salvage, they're gonna salvage, and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Truly. They just are exactly who they are, and like they will tell anyone. Like they'll tell the lunch lady, you know, their orientation, like who they got a crush on, like, afraid of anything.
That's right.
I'm like, all right.
Yep. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's incredible to me. They take up space. They make noise. I love it. You guys have children that are quite old.
Huge.
Not old as
I
much,
know.
but like you have
I have a teen.
I have an almost teen. I have a tween.
You got 2 tweens.
2 tweens.
Have you enjoyed being moms? Has it
Oh
been?
my God. So much so that it's ruined my whole life. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm trying to like be a person now and like have school and interests and stuff. And I'm like, no, but I have to pick them up. Not for their benefit, but for my own. Because I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. They're fine, but I'm a wreck.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. It's been the best. Like mine are like I've not been able to be as hands-on, you know, because of work, but I do enjoy working. Obviously, like I got that from our mom. But like I think these kids are fine. Like they're like so unbothered by everything, unfazed and cool. And I don't know. They're just the coolest.
Yeah.
They're nerds like me, you know.
I mean, I don't have any regret, and I'm deeply grateful for the friendship that I have with my kids. Like we are so close, and I love it. I do wish they had seen their mom work. I do. I mean, they saw me, but I was a volunteer all the time. But
I was like, you worked.
right, I did, but I didn't. I wasn't independent and autonomous. I mean, I was in ways, but I, coming out of my marriage with no money, no credit, because the Lord gave credit, no savings, like not, and it just made me realize, obviously, how I would encourage young women to do things differently, no matter what. But also just that's not a reflection of who I am. That's not, that's not who I was before I got married and had children. And then since then, it's not who I am.
And were you pissed off about that? Because like you like I said, you've been working your ass off, and like, I don't know, I'd be so pissed off. Like, now
Yeah.
I feel like,
Yeah.
bye,
Well, no, I mean, everything's a choice, right? Like, so, I mean, I can get down on myself for having not pursued all the dreams that I had, but I just traded dreams, I stand by the fact that once my ex-husband and I got turned on to, especially all things Mark Driscoll and Mars Hill,
oof,
we were both of us very much inclined to have mama stay at home, and thankfully we didn't. He would now say that was all my choice and that he didn't,
yeah,
ask me to give anything up, blah blah blah. But I still recognize all of that as my choice, and I was afraid to. Like, there were times I could have gotten a job, but I was really afraid of failing, and
yeah,
really afraid of trying new things. And so I love that I was at home with my kids. Love it.
of
I love
course.
all of the volunteer work that I did. A lot of my motivation was fear, and just, I know that these little humans love me and need me and will make me feel loved and needed, and I can put this home together and create these systems. I can make myself important to this community. I can do all of these things, but surely none of that would be as hard as just going out and getting a job where you're paid. Like that, no way, that would be too much, too big, too hard.
Right.
But I don't know. I let fear,
That's what I've been saying to my friends from group. Like, I'm starting school and I've only worked for a few years now outside the home, trying to put myself together as a grown up. And like, to me, it's very brave. To me, this is a lot of growth that I can go to school right now, because it was for so many years like, I know I'm smart in these four walls,
right.
and it's like, yeah, it's like too scary to go out there and like, I don't know how to do anything,
Yeah.
so now to like risk looking dumb so that I can like become something,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't have been able to do this had I not had all these years of recovery, like
Mm-hmm.
it's a tribute to my group, that
Yeah.
I'm doing this, I guess, thing that everybody does, is go to get educated, but it's a big deal for me, and I wouldn't have been able to do it 5 years ago. So
I love it. That's so awesome. It is so brave, and it is hard won. All that hard work that you did, like, yeah, it's amazing. Good job.
this is so fun, and I appreciate you coming on, and I love y'all so much.
I am so grateful that just so grateful. And I just love seeing and talking to you guys. I love it. Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for your grace and continued love. And I appreciate it.